Hello and welcome back to another episode. On today's episode, we chat with Dallan Murphy. Dallan owns and operates a couple of F45s. He has a Biltong company. He played professional rugby for a period of time, and he is also a player's agent for predominantly rugby league and rugby union players. Join us today as we chat through a broad range of topics. We talk about the ins and outs of F45s, how he opened, how they're going now in the current climate, the things he learned along the way of the period of time that he's owned them. We discuss the inspiration for his Biltong company and how he developed his products. We talk about his rugby career for a little bit, and we discuss the ins and outs of being a player's agent, a subject I actually didn't know too much about beforehand, but I found it very interesting. So join me in today's episode as we go over such a wide array of topics. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and I hope you find it informative. Enjoy. All right, welcome, Mr. Dallan Murphy. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, mate. Very excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So you're a man of many hats. We're going to go over a few things today. But first, I want to touch on F45s that you own. You own a couple of those. So where did that begin? What was your inspiration for opening one of those?
So I basically finished playing professional footy in Japan. Came back, signed with a Super Rugby club. On the back of that, did my ACL for the third time. And then basically in the meantime, as everyone has, you kind of retire from footy and you need to transition into something else. My first transition was into F45 as a trainer. Picked up a part-time job in the city. On the back of that, an opportunity presented itself to buy our first one, or to buy 50% of our first one, me and my brother. On the back of that, it went quite well, and then we kind of invested in three other ones. And since then, been doing it now for, this will be our 8th year, and just kind of evolved from there. Yeah,
nice. What was your first one a brand new location, or was it a repurchase?
Repurchase.
Yeah, okay. Was the other one, were any of yours new?
Only Hendra. So on the back of some success with Lutwich, which was the one we purchased, we moved across obviously the area we were in and built one from the ground up, which was, as you kind of know, it's the best.
Yeah.
The upside. And when you're paying for one that's pre-existing, you kind of got to work pretty hard to get that back.
Yeah. That's sometimes can be the huge con of taking over a gym, is whatever culture's already there and bad juju that you have to kind of overcome and be willing to be like low for a little bit. Or not exactly flying out the blocks, because you've got to get everyone to know that, like, no, new people here, it's going to be good now.
Yeah, but so-and-so used to do this. Well, yeah, I know, but they're no longer the owners.
Yeah. That's one challenge I had here at Newsec, because I took over, it was already existing.
Yeah.
And you had to like get all the bad habits out. And then whereas at Jindalee was a new one. So you can just like, this is what we're doing. And everyone's like, okay. You're like, oh my God.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So that would have been peak, maybe F45.
Close to it.
Yeah.
I think, probably kind of 2017 through to 2019 pre-COVID was almost peak for it. You know what I mean? Kind of post-COVID, there's a lot more competition out there now, and F45's brand is taking a bit of a battering, and everything happened with the public offering and all that kind of stuff. It's made it pretty tough. But yeah, absolutely. When I first got in, it was very lucrative. Yeah.
Did you, because obviously you had rugby and then a trainer, did you have much business acumen?
I did a finance degree, but me, my brother and my sisters have always kind of ran our own businesses. So prior to me heading overseas to play, I was playing here professionally, and we had swim schools that we ran and children's programs that we ran, and we always owned our own businesses. Yeah. So I understood it fairly well. There's always things you learn along the way, but we always kind of wanted to work for ourselves. And my dad owned his own financial planning business, and I think we get it from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, where did you learn it? Because obviously when you're younger, you're learning, but like
you're learning,
you learn from someone.
Exactly. And you're not necessarily feel like you're learning. You're just absorbing things, and then you go and execute it when you're on your own business. And that's probably where we got it from. We saw how hard he worked and the staff and how he manages staff. And that's probably the hardest part about gyms is managing staff, because the frequency of personal trainers and
can be a high turnover.
But that's right. We've been really lucky, and I think we've done a really good job at managing our staff and creating a really good culture. Even though we've acquired a couple of businesses along the way, we've been able to keep a really good culture and implement what we wanted fairly well. That's why we probably got the long-standing staff that we have.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions, was like, because of your rugby background, did you find that helped you create
Definitely.
like team culture, winning culture in the gyms? Because it's similar, like obviously completely different sports and stuff, but like it's still fitness-based culture where there's like that training and camaraderie type vibes. Did you know a lot of that from the swim school stuff beforehand, or did rugby really go, oh, this is what we can do to bond a team here?
I think a bit of both. Our big philosophy with it all is you give a fair bit of autonomy. You know what I mean? This is the expectation, but we're not going to come down on you hard. But if you do fuck up, then we're going to come down on you hard. But it's like, this is the expectation. You're here to train people first and foremost. You got to be, very relaxed and engage with them, but just, to train them. And so I think on the back of just the way I am in my personality, which is very relaxed, it's created a really wonderful culture where people don't feel like they're being micromanaged. I don't think people react very well to being micromanaged. And if you can provide them with an environment that's, relaxed in that way, but the expectation is here, and you have a genuine catch up and consistency with that, then they understand where they sit. Sometimes you got to give people clips around the ears. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it comes
totally.
that kind of stuff, because it's such a monotonous industry. So, Monday's cardio, Tuesday's weights, Wednesday's cardio, and it's different sessions, but it's the same stuff. So making sure that the energies are up and all that kind of stuff is probably the hardest part.
Yeah. And you're also running, I don't know what your blocks are like, but here you do 3 classes in a row. So it's literally the same thing 3 times in a row.
100%. And that's the way it works. And so that's by the third class, especially for new people, because if you're bringing them on, it's a 4:45 start or it's a 5 o'clock start. By the time that third class runs around, it's like
that coffee's running out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, get up. But I think, just being able to allow people to be who they are is the most important part.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in this industry, because the trainers and boutique gyms specifically, like not as much in like your big box gyms, trainers make your gym or can
100%.
break your gym. 100%. So you got to get their personality to come out, because then people bond. Like me, I talk, you bro out with some of the boys, and then with the girls can go out with some of the female trainers, or you find commonalities. And if you don't let them express themselves, then it becomes this weird, like stale environment.
Correct. And we also always, like just this weekend coming up, we're taking all of our staff out for lunch, have a few drinks with them. We always have a large staff party and member party back into the year with all 4 studios coming together. I think having that and the consistency of functions outside of the studio from a member perspective create that environment. So you're seeing people outside, everyone's a little more relaxed, they get dressed up, all that kind of stuff becomes important as well.
Totally. Yeah, we do the end of challenge parties, but it's basically a quarterly party.
Yeah.
And in Newstead, obviously, everyone likes to be social.
Yeah.
It's the start of the party, everyone's in their own little circles. and then after about 3 wines, everyone starts to mingle. And then you can feel the difference in the club for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Agreed.
Everyone's like, oh, I spoke to Dallan, he's actually really cool. And then the club becomes this vibe again.
100%.
Yeah, totally. What are some other things that you guys do that, I guess, like help, like, I guess, grow membership base / culture around the club?
I think every time we do a challenge like you're talking about, is we make it competitive. So whether it's within studio, you split everyone up into the 4 teams, do you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, this is the red team, this is the white team, this is the blue team. Or at the moment, what we found real success in is it's Hendra versus Strathpine versus Lutwyche versus Capera. And so everyone buys in a lot more, and they're obviously there to work towards a goal of achieving the results they want. But if so-and-so's next to them and they're turning up every day because, there's something for reward at the end of it, they're willing to kind of work more, as you said before, collaboratively and as a team. It's that real team environment, and you don't want to let the person down next to you.
Yeah.
And that's probably what we feel like we've done really well over the last couple of years as well, is have that type of environment. And it's less about the prize. It's more about the journey together and being successful because they're just pumped because they've won.
Yeah. And the byproduct is they're fitter, faster, stronger, and leaner at the end.
Which is exactly what they wanted.
Yeah. But they're distracted along the way.
And that's it. You've got to make it enjoyable, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a good thing. Do you guys do much like sponsorships or like marketing, or like, because one of the things Fitstop try to do is they say like to be the mayor of your community. So it's like get out there and go to school fetes and do this and do that. And do you guys do much of that?
We just did it on the week, or 2 weekends ago. We went to the Windsor Fest. Our Lutwyche studio is right kind of bang in the middle of it. Windsor State School's a school just down the road. We put a lot of our members come from there, and their kids are there and all that kind of stuff. So we just set up a stall and put a bike out the front, and it was quickest time over 100 meters, won a free 8-week challenge.
Classic.
But then we had a spinning wheel there that collected data and all that kind of stuff. So then we got all these leads quite organically from the back of it. But at the same time, you know what I mean? There's all the people there who are working at the Fade who come to our studio and you're having a beer with them and you're relaxed. And that's definitely something that, we work really hard at as well.
Yeah, some of that stuff, you sort of get that instant ROI of like the database building. But there's a lot of intangible things that happen that you can't prove that they happen, but they just do. Like people see you and then like you're front of mind again. And then they're like, oh, actually that F45 was at the Fade. I might go try them out.
And that's what I reckon, I don't know, pre-COVID, you'd put up a social media post or you do a sponsored ad on Facebook and it was like you get 12 leads. Automatically, they'd all come in, you'd sign them all up. But it was as easy as that.
Yeah, totally.
All of a sudden now is our biggest, recruitment tool is our members because, everything's changed, social media wise, all that kind of stuff. I think it's important to have a really organic social media and keep consistent with that and smiling faces and videos and everything else. But people are more willing to refer, you know what I mean? And if they do that, they come and have a good time, you treat them well, they refer someone else.
Yeah,
that's our big focus.
Yeah. Because, definitely like your Facebook leads and stuff, the quality is definitely lower. Like you might get 100 leads and maybe 50% actually like get back to you. But your referrals, your conversion rates at 80, 90% because they've already been vouched for. The girlfriend vouches for them, their friend. And that's word of mouth is probably the best one.
It's key.
Yeah. How do you go about managing, just 4 locations, did you say still? Yeah. Are you the overall manager of all of them, or do you split it up between your brother and that? Or
there's 2 of us. So we've got another business partner, Angie Smith, who comes in. She basically manages 2 and I manage 2 from the top. And then we have kind of quasi-managers in each. And they look after the back end. And then we kind of just catch up with them every 3 to 4 weeks and just check in all that kind of stuff. We implement a lot of the stuff and just make sure it's being executed.
Yeah. Do you copy and paste a lot of the systems? Or do you find different locations require a few different systems?
It's basically copy and paste, and it all works quite well.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Exactly. Did you find F45, they have all the systems in place for you, or like they kind of got the bulk of it and you had to go, actually, we should introduce ABC?
Yeah, I think so. We kind of learned along the way, and a lot of the stuff was initially manual, and that's how I reckon how much it's actually evolved over the last 7 years is a lot of what you did initially was Excel spreadsheets to track, members and trialists and all that kind of stuff. And we've kind of worked through a hell of a lot. And then, this is the program that we want to go ahead and utilize. And F45 didn't necessarily have them on board, but as it's kind of progressed through as well, they have ended up bringing them on board.
Yeah. Are you talking like gym sale, like CRMs, or are you talking
CRMs. Well, we've always had MindBody as our CRM.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That. But like Loyal Snap, which is basically an automated process where someone comes in, it links together with MindBody. They come in for their first session. They get a message straight away. Congratulations on your first session. And it goes through a process of basically having to all those touch points until it's the final day or it's a couple of days left. And they say, I'm interested in this thing. You've obviously picked up the phone to them anyway and you see them in the studio, but then you pick up the phone and say, hey, it's work. And they say, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is F45 didn't necessarily have that initially.
Do you find, because I always get torn between automated CRM text messaging, because you can tell straight away it's like automated versus like the human doing it. It's like when I do, we do high risk check-ins, right? Like you haven't been in for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of locations automate it, but I find it's more effective if I do it myself because there's not that many. Because then I can be like, hey, big boy, where you been? I can personalize it to you or like whoever it is.
So within that process, I think what you're talking about, absolutely. But that's also why along the way, the automated process, which I think we've tailored quite well, that it doesn't necessarily sound so robotic and always has a name at the bottom of it, whatever it is. But then you got to pick up the phone along the way. Saw you in the studio today, just want to say, well done. You know what I mean? How are you finding it? Oh, it's actually been really, really good. I mean, I was, at so-and-so, but I'm doing this now. This is really great. What are the options? Yeah. And also picking up the phone is because you might get an automated message that says, $60 a week, this is what it's going to cost. And they just don't reply.
Yeah.
You pick up the phone and say, well, the price point's too expensive. Oh, that's great. That's what I want to talk to you about because we've got a 2-day-a-week membership. We've got a 3-day-a-week membership. We've got this.
Yeah.
So that personal touch point is super important. And that's why also I think having the appropriate person in studio working is the person who's on the phone becomes super important because they know them and they built a relationship. They're more inclined to, who are you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we did that for a while where like my business partner was doing sales calls, but then you have no idea who the person in the studio is because they're not there. Whereas if I'm doing it, I know exactly who you are and I can be like, oh, how's your ankle? How's the kid? Or whatever it is. Yeah. So you touched on before F45 took a bit of a hit, whatever it was. I can't remember. The whole few years is a big blur.
Yeah.
Did you find your studios yourself impacted by that, or it's sort of more media hype?
Less so. Like I think what we've been able to do is create that community and have a really strong, consistent member base. That we've got long-standing members, like long-standing staff, and so we're less affected. But I think as a whole, the whole trialist process and getting people through the door is what affected us. So we didn't have people leaving because like F45 was doing this, but it was hard to get people through the door.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of reiterated a point before of word of mouth, because it's less about now it's an F45 studio. It's now about it's just a studio. It's a gym.
Yeah.
It's
you just happen to have the branding.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you go in and people feel like they've been worked hard and you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that comes down to what we were talking about before, like good trainers, good coaches, good managers and stuff.
And I think people want consistency of trainers because if it's 1 week it's you and then the next week you're gone because you've got another job and then it's me and then it's someone else. It's like, oh my God.
It feels like a new gym every time.
Correct. You want to have a relationship built with, because if someone walks through the door and go, you know, they've just returned from having a baby, it's like, how's it all going? How's little Louie? What's been happening? You know what I mean? And they've been through that process with them. And so therefore that consistency, I just think is the cornerstone of the business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have so many friends that are members or were members.
Yeah.
You end up like becoming friends and going on the piss together. And I've had, no, not from here, but when I was PTing, I went to a few weddings because of clients. Like it shows how important
it definitely does.
Rapport is.
Yeah.
Do you reckon, where do you think the fitness industry is going? Do you have any ideas on that?
I do. I think it's that, I really think it's the hybrid, like it evolves all the time, right? But I think it is that hybrid style of training. I think people want a bit of both. And I think people want that balance between both and potentially even in the same session. So let's go and lift, you know, heavy and have some core lifts one day, but then at the end of the day, let's do an AMRAP to finish. So I feel like I've lifted heavy, but I've also been flogged. And I think you see the involvement now of certain studios and you know, the girls are fitter, stronger, faster. And it's more that body awareness that it's okay, you know, to have muscles. Do you know what I mean? The female space, I think, has evolved.
Big time.
A whole heap.
Yeah.
That's what I think has really kind of pushed and evolved the gyms into that space. That's what people want. Same time, from our perspective, I think it's important to have the ability for anyone to walking off the street to be able to do a session.
Yeah, scalability.
Scalability is super important because if you just say, well, I just want the pretty people and the people who are really strong and fast and then want to get worked hard all the time, you're kind of segregating yourself away. But you've got to have an ability where my dad was 76, you know what I mean, and still kind of came in until most recently. He brought a couple of mates with him all the time. And for them, just being able to work out and continue to lift weights for that durability and their strength and, you know, for their bones, et cetera, down the track is super important. So we kind of range from, you know, 18 all the way through to that.
Yeah. And that's what's so good about it. It's like, and same thing, you can have like others who are fit and strong and then a newbie in the same class doing the same thing. And we both finish equally cooked because you just scale it to whatever it is. Yeah, I think so too. There's been a huge, I don't know, like I was going to say social media, but just overall mental shift of the female demographic, realizing or maybe not ignoring the fucking media bullshit. Like you don't get bulky from doing weights. Like you actually get the bodies that you're after, that lean, athletic.
Correct. And that's what it is.
And then same as the men who used to just do bro weights are like, oh, cardio actually helps me get lean as fuck. Like maybe I should do that or doing the hybrid stuff. And
correct. But they also, for the men as well, I think they feel better because cardiovascularly they're moving, their lungs are working. You know what I mean? Whereas before it's just, you look big and strong, but fuck, you can barely walk down the street.
Yeah. I think there's definitely, I'm not sure other suburbs because Newstead's a weird beast because it's 30 gyms in here. And people also, I kind of feel like people want that and they also want Pilates and they also want yoga and they also want an ice bath and they also like they want it all, but they all want it for $20 a week.
Correct. Everyone wants everything for $20 a week.
Yeah.
But that's where I reckon the resurgence of I guess just the domestic gyms is going to come back because they were so out of favour because all they offered was You know what I mean? Basically come and lift weights. And now, you know, they've got a sauna, they've got a spa, they've got Pilates, they've got this, they've got PT, and all encompassing. It now costs you $100 a week, or $150 a week at some of them. But it's like, okay, well, that's right. But it's like that's where they've kind of researched.
Yeah, I agree. Sweet. All right, it's the beauty of editing. Moving on to one of your other many careers. Sports agent. Is that the correct term, sports agent? Or
sports agent, manager, whatever. I think agency is probably the appropriate terminology for it.
Yeah. So you're with the agents? Is that
so it's my own business.
Oh, it's yours.
The Agents Co. I started it in 2016. At the same time, I kind of went from the gyms, right? Because in sports agency, you've got to have clients to make money. And you've basically got to start from the bottom. And when I say start from the bottom, you've got to have 16, 17-year-old kids on your books to progress them through. Because someone who's coming as an agent with limited experience and you're trying to sign your mates, they're like, great guy, but what experience do you have? And this is my livelihood. So, it paired well with the gyms and me being able to do that and having a secondary job.
Do you need any like certs or quals or anything to be?
No, you've basically got to go through and become accredited through each of the sports that you want to do. So I'm currently accredited in Rugby League and Rugby Union. You go through the process to get that.
When you say accredited, what do you mean by that?
So basically you go and apply to be a sports agent. So with Rugby Union, you basically go in and you get your own insurance. Okay, and then you got to go and attend the conference. Once you do that, you pass an exam, so you understand everything, and then you're accredited from there on in. Unless you become disbarred from doing illegal stuff or being a crook or whatever it is. And the same process goes to Rugby League. It's a little bit harder to do Rugby League. They don't kind of give it out to anyone else, but almost anyone in rugby can become an agent with.
Interesting.
If you've had prior criminal experience.
What are you learning there? Like all the laws and stuff?
Yeah, just more the contracting.
It's
more the contracting because I think as a former professional player, you have the eye for talent. It's just about understanding contracts and whether that's a playing contract or a third-party deal through a company that wants to sign someone and these are the expectations and the terminologies. Just understanding that and making sure that you're across it because there's a lot of moving parts that kind of come within it. Yeah,
because with your rugby stuff, I think you had a few sneaky Reds caps.
Yeah.
And then you went overseas.
Yeah.
So UK and then you went to Japan as well.
Yeah.
What did you always plan to go overseas, or you kind of like, there's no Super Rugby here, so I'll get a contract?
Basically, you have a goal of playing for the Wallabies.
Everyone does.
Exactly.
Unless you're Kiwi.
So you kind of come through. I was a late developer, like physically and I guess ability-wise. Like I kind of hit puberty at 18. You know what I mean? I finished school at 55 kilos.
That's small.
Absolutely tiny. And then all of a sudden, within the first 2 years out of school, I'd put on 20 kilos. I was 75, 80 kilos. And I started to achieve the things because I was a bigger body and everything else. And so therefore, when I got the opportunity to play for the Reds, I was like, this is it. I've kind of made it. I went really badly. Do you know what I mean? I didn't execute how I probably wanted to. And that was probably more of a mental thing because probably wasn't ready. Like at a Premier grade level, which is kind of club footy, I was super confident and just knew that anything I wanted to do and I played off the cuff and everything else. When I got to that next level, it became real tough because I probably didn't back myself as much as I thought. And then you kind of isolated myself and it all came crashing down. So on the back of that, did my ACL at the back end of my second year at the Reds. Basically fell out of the contract. You know what I mean? Not because I'd done my ACL, because I wasn't getting a contract, but that just so happened. I'd signed a contract to go to France, did my ACL 2 weeks before I was supposed to go. That contract was cancelled. So I spent 12 months trying to basically figure out what I was going to do, rehab myself, and picked up a really small contract in the UK and then went over and did that. So the goal obviously was to play professionally here forever with potentially a sabbatical and don't go and do something in Japan, but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about rugby is it's a global game. So not just now, what he was talking about now, you've got Major League Rugby, you've got Japan, you've got every fucking place in Europe now plays professionally, you've got New Zealand, you've got Australia. It's just so big from a global perspective, you have the ability to go and do whatever you want.
And there's more, would you say there's more money overseas than here?
Definitely. Yeah. And not from guess at a top level, but like the top players here are earning over $1 million. the top players, say in the world are probably earning more closer to 1.5 to 2.
Yeah, okay.
But then you take a look at Joseph Suoliti, who's come and playing rugby union.
Is that the Roosters guy? Yeah.
He's only 1.6. So comparatively to Japan and Europe, it's pretty similar. Where the money is made is someone on an entry level contract here is on $53,000 in rugby. Somewhere else it's probably more like 80 to 100.
Yeah. So if you're like on the outskirts, it kind of pays to go overseas for a bit.
Yeah, or the average. And so the average,
same
as rugby league, right? The average in rugby league is probably like $300,000 a year. The average in rugby union is probably 120.
Yeah.
Like that. So.
Do you know why? Is there less money in unions? Like comparing the league and the...
Yeah, the salary cap. So basically the salary cap in rugby union is $5.5 million per team.
Yeah.
So it's $20 million across 4 teams, which is basically what we've got now. Salary cap per team in the NRL is close to $11 million.
Yeah,
it's double.
Why is the union lower? There's not enough money in the sport, or
so you'd see the broadcast deals across both sports, and then the one in rugby league is just enormous because there's so many teams, there's so much rugby to be played, so much more opportunity for sponsorships, all that kind of stuff. There's 4 teams in Australia, and at the moment there's the Fiji and Drua, and there's 5 teams in New Zealand.
Yeah, so 16 NRL teams or whatever it is.
It's about to be 18.
Yeah.
So it's just more
and crowds
economics.
as well.
That's right.
I mean, AFL dominates crowd wise, and then rugby league's probably
second.
Yeah, especially in Brisbane, you got 40,000, and do they even fill out Ballymore anymore at the Reds? Or?
They don't play there anymore, but yeah, they do. They play at Suncorp.
Oh, do they?
It depends. Like at a test level, when they played South Africa here, there was 52,000 people.
That's good.
Which was capacity. But the Reds, they're probably averaging 15 to 20. Week in, week out.
It's not that bad. That's what your Knights and your
that's right.
stuff get.
But the hard part is you're playing in a stadium with capacity of 52,000. So if they take it back, if they can eventually take it back to Ballymore, and you're getting 50, 20,000 people there, it's like, fuck, this is hamming, right? And that's probably the big thing I think need to fix on.
That's what the Brisbane Roar is struggling with. They're kind of, it's so wild to me that when A-League was first here, the Roar were filling out Suncorp Stadium, and now they can barely fill out any stadium.
Yeah, that's right.
It's interesting sport, just chops and changes.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah. How do you go, I want to represent a guy? Do you look at the talent and you go, he looks like a player that's going to be good, and then you just try and win him over, or?
Basically. So you go and watch a lot of schoolboy stuff. You go and watch a lot of representative stuff. You get tipped into people. You know what I mean? You build relationships with everyone around the place, and you just got to go and basically watch them. Think they're good enough to play professional footy. Then you go and have a conversation with either them and the parents, depending on what age they are, and then try and sign them on the back of that.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what your offering is, what your point of difference is, as we all do, right? When you're trying to sell someone on a membership, well, why should I go here and not down to that beautiful place down the road?
The $80 million venue down the road.
And that's the hard part. So you got to find your point of difference, and that obviously evolves over time, and you understand people want different things. And the biggest thing I try to focus on is I'm not going to go and try and sign 50 young kids a year. It's trying to find the cream of the crop. You know what I mean? You don't have too many people in the same positions, and then trying to execute on them.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out exactly what they want. Some guys want you to talk to them every week. Some guys just talk to me when the contract's going. Or, you know what I mean? Let's catch up once a year or twice a year or whatever it is. And so everyone's really different. The hard part is the younger kids. So you're basically signing kids now 15, 16 years of age.
Yeah.
And figuring out what that offering is, understanding that, and then on the back of that, taking them from there into professional, and then managing expectations, because you know what it's like these days. Social media is a really horrible thing at times, because well, I saw Zane, he signed with the Broncos. Why aren't I getting signed?
Yeah.
Well, he's an outside back. You know what I mean? You're a prop who takes a little bit more
time
to get moving.
They needed a back. They don't need a prop. They've got Payne Haas. Are you better than Payne Haas?
And so just managing that and understanding the expectations, and then working with them to do that. It gets easier to manage as they get older, and they're a lot more confident, and they understand what they want and what they need. But yeah, it's basically identifying talent and then kind of trying to sell yourself to them and how you can help support them.
Yeah, and so you sign them to you / your agency, and you go, okay, you got like an exclusive contract with us. I'm going to go now and find you a team if I can.
Correct.
Yeah.
So basically, the way I explain it really simply is my job is to find you a professional job. Well, that's legal union. It's that's what the space is. So, okay, well, I want to go and play for this team. Okay, well, they're not interested. Oh, okay, right. But at the same time, you're talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And because it's such a global sport, rugby union you're talking to markets all over the world, whether it's Japan, whether it's Europe, whether it's America, whether it's New Zealand, wherever it is, you're talking to people all the time. Rugby league's a little bit different. It's not so much a global game, but it's here in England and New Zealand and that kind of stuff. So you got to be really across things. You got to make sure you're aware of everything that everybody's offering.
Who's in, who's out.
And who wants what.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, then you're going to really struggle to make money.
Is that all networking? Fingers in all the pies and
and building partnerships with people.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't speak French. I don't speak Japanese. I lived in Japan and I was okay, but you need someone who can speak it fluently. So you have partners in all the areas. Being able to work and trust them wholeheartedly, to be able to do the job and push your players the way you want to push them, that's the hard part. And
then, so like, say the Japan person, are they getting a cut of the commission? Because
that's right.
Because nothing's free.
That's right. But there's the support in these places as well. You know what I mean? Like, imagine going over and signing a professional team, and then, okay, well, I'm in Japan. How do I sign up to a bank?
Yeah.
How do I do my private health insurance?
Yeah.
How do I, and paperwork and stuff over there? It's just through the roof. It's so old school still. So it's just having that and understanding that is the big thing. That's why it's important to have people on the ground.
Yeah. How do you build it? Because you'd obviously have some connections from obviously playing in UK and Japan and a little bit of Reds connections. And I know rugby union especially, I'm sure rugby league's the same, very good camaraderie between the old boys. Like, you all have each other's backs and stuff. But for the teams that you didn't play for, how do you build?
You should go and meet them.
Just cold call. Hey, bro, what's up?
That's right. I'm an agent, and this is how I started, right? It's start domestically in Australia. Is when I first started the business, I had 0 clients. You just go and went to the Western Force. This is what I'm doing. This is who I am. Great. Nice to meet you. All right. Just if you've got any players, send them through. You've got that relationship. It takes time to build that trust. You've got to trust me, you know what I mean, on this guy. Like, as a personality-wise, he's exactly what you need, but he's got so much upside. So that takes time, but you just got to go around and get in front of people. And the difficult part is it's evolving all the time. Like, you're not going to have the same list manager at the same club forever.
Yeah.
So the Brumbies, for instance, they've had 3 in, 5 years. And so it's like going down and meeting them and building that. But once you start to get a certain reputation, then it's, okay, Dal, we understand you look after this guy. Can we have a conversation about it? He's actually contracted.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about for the next year?
It's almost like, I guess it's like anything though. The more you do it, the better you get. And then the easier it is because you don't have to prove yourself anymore.
Correct.
You're like, well, here's my portfolio. So my proof speaks for itself.
Yeah, and then the people you look after, and the better they go, obviously, the better young kids you attract, and all that kind of stuff.
Is there a set commission? Because you get a commission off the value of the contract.
Yeah, it's not set.
Each agency is different.
Yeah,
and each deal is different, or
almost. Third party is different to kind of playing contract, and then in some places, like Japan and France, the club pays you directly. So here, like, if you sign a kid and he signs a Super Rugby contract, a portion of that comes out from their contract.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's the same thing in France, they pay you on top of the contract.
Yeah, so the kid will get his full 100K, but then you get your on top from the club.
That's right.
Interesting. What do you guys do? I had a quick look at your website. Like, obviously you do contracts, and then do you dabble much in like getting advertising and getting third party? You said third party deals.
Third party, definitely. It's something that we kind of pride ourselves on, and being able to go out there and find people stuff, because it's not easy to be contracted in that space anymore. When Alan Border was going through, him and his 7 teammates from the Queensland Bulls all had a 4X car, and they all got free beer for a year forever.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was, because sport was, so endorsable back in the day. These days, there's so much more sport. It's a real risk of someone in the male space, because might go out and sexually assault someone, or drugs, or whatever it is, because it's so frequent. And that's where I think the female space is growing so much, because they're not so worried about that kind of stuff, because the girls are excellent. They work hard. They're willing to kind of get on social media and promote themselves and do all that kind of stuff. And they're kind of really endorsable at the moment. But definitely, like, we sit down with clients and go, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, this is my rugby stuff. All right, what outside of that? I want to study this. Okay, that's terrific. But then is there any third-party stuff you want to have a look at? And obviously no one wants to look after a 16-year-old kid. But as they progress through the ranks and they come to a wallaby level, okay, well, you're really passionate about Harley Davidson. Well, actually, they're looking for an ambassador. Let's go and have a discussion with them. And it's just reaching out and building networks. And the least they can say is, no, you're not the right fit for us. But at least you've gone ahead and done that.
Yeah. They might come back to you like, actually, we want this kind of person. You go, well, actually, I've got this other guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's just understanding what people want.
Yeah. Speaking of all the naughty things that players do, obviously that affects their brand, which some things obviously they do and their contract's torn up and they're probably done for the sport. But there'd be small little niggly things that they can still obviously keep playing. When it comes to contract time, that kind of stuff comes up. Hey, like
it counts against them, definitely.
Yeah. Say it might be worth 500, and then I was going to say the Rebels, but they don't even exist anymore. The Reds might be like, yeah, but he's a bad boy. We don't really want to pay 500 because he's got
correct
a potential liability there.
That's right. And so we've had players over the years who have been, had liabilities, and when it came to contract time, it's like, well, he's not worth that because we've had to bail him out of X, Y, and Z, and that's. It's not a tough conversation, but it's like getting that through the player's mind becomes a little bit difficult at times.
Yeah. Do you think the females, like you said before, they're on point with everything? Do you think it's because they are so disadvantaged at the moment in a sense that like they're growing the sport, they have to be squeaky clean because everything's kind of against them a little bit, and so whereas some of the male players are like, I play rugby.
Yeah, I think it's the disproportionate contracting that happens. At the same time, the value add to the organisations, from a male perspective, is a lot more at the moment. And so therefore, if a player's earning $500,000 a year and someone wants to pay him $10,000 a year to go and endorse their headgear, some of them might go, I'm not really interested. You know what I mean? Whereas girls, if they're earning $60,000 a year and someone wants to pay them $10,000 a year to wear a headgear, they're like, well, absolutely, I'll do that. There's an extra,
It's a sixth of my salary.
That's right. And so that's phenomenal. Like that allows me to go and do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, not have a second job.
That's right. Yeah. But also I feel like the girls are just a lot more open to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Always have their social media, and quite often it's just footy photos and mates with the beers and all that kind of stuff, and their girlfriends and all that. And it's like, well, can you put up a photo of that? Oh, I don't really feel comfortable.
I don't get it. Like, someone's like, I'll give you $20,000 a year to post pictures in these Nike shorts. Fucking A, I'll do it.
And that's right. But it's the individuals, and some like doing it, some don't.
Yeah. Have you ever had a player come to you, or perhaps someone's like, oh, you should sign this person, and then you just like, no, we're not the right fit?
Yeah, definitely. Over the years, 100%. It's one of those things. You got to be understanding of who you are as people and the kind of people you want to operate with. And like I said before, I'm not going to try and sign everyone, and I take a real good hard look at people and their character and what they're like.
Branding and stuff.
Yeah, but just like if I'm going to work my ass off for someone and try and get them contracts, I want to work with someone who's going to be doing the same. Not sitting there going, well, this is all
bring my money.
That's right. I just don't want it. I don't have time and I don't have energy for it.
Yeah, fair. Have you done anything, besides obviously being in the game, is there stuff that you've done that's improved your skill set? Like negotiation courses or like, you know what I mean?
No, not really. Like I've kind of situated myself with a fairly good array of mentors and trying to do that a lot more and trying to network and talk to people. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've gone and done. Like I'm not someone to sit down and study and go, this is how you should negotiate, but picking up things from other people and understanding what they do. And they're in different businesses and very successful in their own right. But, you can bring it back and go, well, we can do X, Y, and Z here.
Negotiating is negotiating. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And just understanding that and being more frequent and connecting with people. And
yeah, that's actually one of my questions is, do you have any tips or maybe key things that you've learned from negotiating that would be helpful to people, like whether they're negotiating a work salary increase or
I think always ask what you want, because at least they can say it's no. Do it in a respectful way and don't demand, because I think you always get to a point where you're happy. And that's probably the biggest thing is always ask for what you want and just do it in a way that's face to face. This is what I'm thinking. This is where I feel like I can add value. These are the reasons why. This is my value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can we look at that? Yeah, absolutely. I'll make you dreaming.
Yeah. It's funny that sometimes the amount of times in my life where I'm like, no, they'll never say yes to that. Like, no way. And then you go, oh, I'm thinking this. Yeah, no worries. And you go, oh, fuck. I should have gotten more. I should have. Because in your mind, it's like a big number or a high demand or whatever, but you realize it's actually not compared to the world that you're.
Yeah, that's right. And leverage is also super important. And that's where understanding exactly what people want and being able to bring contracts from all over the world becomes, a real priority. Because if, the Reds want to sign you on 100, but, Stade Francais want to give you 500, well, guys, this isn't going to be enough. Otherwise, we're going to go, all right, well, let us come back to you.
Yeah.
You might not get to 500, but you're going to get a hell of a lot more than 100.
Have you ever had a player that's, like, say, in that situation where someone's offering 150 or whatever, and like, no, I'm worth 300, and the greed sort of gotten in the way? You've had to have that harsh reality check of like, you're never getting this?
No, I don't think so. I think everyone pretty much understands the expectations and where they're at. Ultimately, it's their decision. You know what I mean? So it's not me saying you need to go and take this. It's up to you. Like, is this enough? Yeah. Well, I'm really happy with that. Okay, cool. It's kind of a good deal.
Do you get them turning down deals much?
Yeah, like we get guys turning down deals to go to France and Japan and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
quite often.
Just money.
Yeah, but it's also what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
So if they're young here and they want to achieve playing for the Wallabies and they don't want to go just yet, then that becomes important. Or if they're very close and not quite ready to give up on that dream, then they turn down the overseas offers.
Yeah. Because that was something Albert was talking about was he was stuck behind, I forgot his name, the Australian prop.
James Slipper?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Rugby's not my strongest point. But then it's like, well, you're good, but you're stuck behind the Australian captain and the main prop. So he's like, well, I can go travel the world and earn more money and explore this and take my family on these journeys and stuff.
And that's the beautiful part about rugby, as I said before. It's such a global game. You can go and earn really good money playing in Italy, and your family's there, and you get to see the Colosseum and everything else. And just around the corner is France, and you know what I mean. It's so central. It's just about understanding what they want, and what they want to achieve, and how it all looks.
What do you think are some good skills or attributes or whatever that make a good agent?
I think is understanding your offering, understand what you can offer them, being across everything. So making sure that, if you're saying you're going to go and do something, you go and do it, and you understand the market. So if you've got a prop who's looking to go overseas, you know exactly where everyone, is looking and what they're looking for and how they kind of fit into that mold. There's nothing worse, I think, as a former player is going, oh, did you push me here? Oh, no, I didn't. And that's, you're dealing with people's livelihoods. Majority of them get to a point where they've got a wife and kids and, they don't necessarily want to stop playing rugby. There comes a time where you have to, but it's making sure that journey goes as long as you possibly can.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to be an agent that hasn't played in any of the sports?
It certainly is. There's plenty out there that
possible,
have.
But
but there's plenty out there that have.
Is there? Yeah.
And especially at an elite level. But I think that's a real point of difference as well. Is understanding what it takes to get to that point. Understanding what it's like to be in that environment. I've actually been there. I've done my ACL 3 times, or I've been dropped from teams, or I've been at the top. I understand that, and I think that's become super important because people want to be able to connect with someone who understands them as well. And I think building relationships, again, comes back to the gym business as well, is people want to kind of go and have a coffee or a beer and just feel like they understand the person and be listened to and all that kind of stuff.
Would you say someone who's wanting to get into it, obviously go get the certs, but then how you did it is kind of the only way to do it? Just
I think the way I did
it, get into it.
Yeah, definitely, but I think the way I did it was the hard way.
Right. What's the easy way?
Was to go and work for someone.
Right.
Go and prove yourself. Go and earn a salary and learn off them.
Like an apprenticeship type vibes.
Yeah, and so that's definitely the easiest way to do it because you've got people who've been doing it for 20 and 30 years and all that kind of stuff. And they understand everything. And then if something comes up, it's like everything that I've had to deal with along the way, people coming at you, people trying to sue you, whatever it is, you're kind of like, oh my God. Whereas if they've gone through it already, it's like, don't worry about that. No one's going to sue you.
Yeah.
It's just that's the easiest
experience helps.
But for me, it was always about owning my own business. So like you've had people come along the way over the years, oh, we want to buy your business. You know what I mean? But it's never been actually buying your business. Here's X amount of money, but come and work for us for X amount.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like, well, why would I forego the whole thing and come and do that for you and earn you money when I can go and do it for myself.
Yeah, yeah.
I back myself to be able to be successful in that space and build my own thing and want to achieve my own things, because I think there's nothing worse than my industry is a bit different because you kind of run your own hours. You don't have to rock up at 8 and leave at 5 and check in and check out and get these tasks done. So you kind of run your own list. At the same time, I want to be able to do that for myself, for my family, for everybody else, rather than going and working for someone and going, all right, here's your 50 grand a year. And here's your bonus on top of that. So, well, okay, well, nah. And that's why I do everything I do.
Different mindsets. You're clearly a business-minded entrepreneur,
That's right.
F45s, the swim schools, this, the Biltong.
Yeah. And that's it. And I do that because I do all of them because it helps me balance. Because if I just did the sports management over the years, one, it would have been a hell of a lot harder. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to supplement your income doing something else. But two, because it gives me balance. I love the fact that I work 1 day a week in the gyms. I go and train people on a Monday morning and I interact with them, have a laugh and a giggle and push them and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's happy to see you. I get a real kick about, being with people.
Same.
And then the same as the agency stuff. So if you sign the kid at 16 and you bring him through and he's one of the most capped wallabies, ever at 30, and then you help him transition into something else, it's like, well, that was a pretty cool journey.
Yeah.
That's less about, the monetary side. Yes, I'm a business person and I want to make money. But you're doing that from all these different things. So there's a lot less pressure on one. And probably people have said over the years, go and focus on one. Yeah, absolutely. But everything seems to be going okay and I seem to be pretty happy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I think the key there with that whole focusing on one thing is you didn't start them all at once. You had your F45s, they were stable and you go, that's cool. Right. Not cruise control, but they're kind of in cruise control now. I can manage them. I don't need to start from the ground up. Now I'm going to do the sports agent thing.
That's right.
That's kind of in cruise control now. Then I can do this. And then,
and that's the majority of my time. The majority of my time is spent in the sports management. That's 90% of my time. Do you know what I mean? Everything else is 5 and 5 and you know what I mean? Whatever it is. So working in that is my main priority and that's, the bread and butter of what I do. But we have got the gyms to a position where it's like, okay, well, I can just manage the staff and do this and do that. And things are always evolving and you got to do things left and right, but the same as this, it's just evolved over time. We haven't tried to invest a whole bucket amount of cash into all these things and then go, oh, well, it's done. Slowly. I just chipped away at things and going, okay.
Yeah. What were you saying before about what can you get sued for as an agent?
Oh, all types of different things. If basically there's limitations around being able to sign someone from a different agency.
Yeah.
I feel like you've gone and induced them and brought them across and all that kind of stuff. There's that. Or we've had instances over the years where someone signed a contract with a different club and we said last minute, no, he's going to go and do X because this is more lucrative. This is better for him, a better opportunity. You grab him and you go and do what's best for the client. You deal with it along the way. Yeah,
okay.
Quite often people are very threatening, but at the same time it's like, just get on with it.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. It happens all the time, the old lastminute.com deals, and there's nothing like saying to someone, I've got a deal over here, and then that makes them get over the deadline. Is there transfer windows in union?
Nah.
Because I think there is in the league. Because there's, they always say you're not meant to talk to teams in this period.
But it's all happening, right? But there's a lot more of that in rugby league. Rugby union, especially in Australia, does not at all. Like you can sign anyone from any time. If you sign a contract now for 2 years with the Reds and the Western Force want to offer you one in 2027, they can do so. But who would want to do that? Who would want to sign at that point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there because you see it all the time where I'm contracted till 2025. Let's say 2026 because it's 2 years away. But then all of a sudden next year, I'm going to Dragons. Are the contracts worth what they are? Because it seems to be they break them all the time. Or is it mutual? The club's gone, all right, we don't want you either.
It goes both ways. So you might say you're at the Bronx and you might go, all right, well, I'm here for the next 3 years. And then a year in you go, it's not really working. They could dig their heels in and go, well, too bad.
Yeah. Sit on the bench, boy.
And how's that going to go for them? One, you're wasting a roster spot for them. One, they're paying you $300,000 a year. Why wouldn't they go and sign someone who would want to do it? But then sometimes it's look, you're not going very well. You're free and your agent's free to go and explore other options for you. You've got 5 years left.
We don't want to waste money on you.
Yeah, if you can find a deal that you're really happy with and you get a better opportunity, we're willing to let you go.
Yeah.
So they are, but they aren't. Do you know what I mean? It's choppy and changing all the time, but it's usually a genuine discussion. The only time I've really kind of seen it most recently is where they've kind of dug their heels was Ben Hunt at the Dragons. He wanted to leave, and they said, well, bad luck.
Yeah, which is weird because then you know that he's a little bit disgruntled.
Absolutely.
Is he going to give 100%? Probably not. It's going to be 80, 90%er. But then he also needs to give 100% because he wants to make Origin. He wants to make Australia.
That's right.
So it's this weird balance.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. EPL's the worst.
It's always chopping.
Like there's do you follow EPL?
Not really.
There's a player, Raheem Sterling, one of many players that are fucked up. He's at Chelsea, right? And they're paying $300K a week. And he's on like a 5-year deal or something. And they're like, oh, you're not even in our squad anymore. Not on bench, like he's not even in the squad. Yeah. And so now they're like, they've sold him to another team where they'll pay half his wage just to be in another team. Like $200K a week just to fucking go play for your rival.
Exactly. It's madness.
It's wild. What, so yeah, we kind of touched on before how Union has kind of taken a hit a bit. Do you think it's from grassroots levels or do you think it's a bit of politics at the top?
I think grassroots level is kind of thriving in a lot of ways. Like if you watch the two Shoot Shield final and the Premier Grade final over the weekend, the two biggest domestic markets in Australia from rugby perspective, which is where almost 85% of the professional players come from. Unbelievable games, 10 to 15,000 people at each. There is that real, patriotism with all of that. What I think has happened over the last couple of years is the Super Rugby has evolved. And it's no longer the number one competition in the world. South Africans gone, all that kind of stuff. TV rights is less. There's just a lot that's happened, especially on the back of COVID and whatnot. Like I think that was a real turning point for a lot of businesses around the world, sporting organisations, small businesses, all that kind of stuff. I think they need to figure out what's next and what the best process is. And whether it's Super Rugby at the moment with the teams that are in, great. But what's that secondary competition look like? Because at the moment you've got people who've played Super Rugby, okay, young kids who might have played, 10 games of first grade, 5 games of Super Rugby, that's 15 games of footy. Well, what are they going to do now for the next part of the year? Whereas you go to France, and there's kids the same age, and they're playing 32 games a year. So the development for them is a hell of a lot faster. You know what I mean? And they're moving through, they're getting better. There's a lot more of that. In Australia, I just don't think we play enough rugby. And domestically, from a school perspective, GPS system, it's 9 weeks.
Is that it?
9 games.
Is that their season?
Yeah.
That's fucking pre-season.
That's right. And then they're done. And then they've got their representative stuff and all that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just it. It's like, well, however you're supposed to develop as a school kid when that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
There needs to be a lot more footage.
And NRL is 26 or something plus finals.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because isn't it rugby strong in other countries? It just seems to be a bit flat here.
Yeah. So you look at the Japanese domestic competition, the 3 divisions over there, massive money. It's thriving over there. There's plenty of money to be put around. People are signing big deals, all that kind of stuff, and it's going really well. France, the same thing. It's the biggest competition in the world, and the money being behind that is enormous. England's a little bit different, but even that, Premiership and then the Pro 14 and 15 over there at the moment it's happening. It's just incredible. It's thriving. That's why I say when it's a global game, as a global game, it's thriving.
Yeah, it's just Australia seems to be
where it's the opposite with league. So leagues here is a $500 million a year business. But internationally, it's like, well, I'd prefer to play Origin than play with Kangaroos.
Yeah.
It's the pinnacle in rugby.
More money for starters, isn't it? Isn't $30K for Origin?
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's like, as a whole, rugby's thriving around the world.
Yeah.
But domestically, it's in a spot. It's like, okay, well, we've got to figure out what's best for the game.
Yeah. Interesting. So because you already aren't busy enough, you've got the Biltong company now, Bareback Biltong, which is here. The smoked chili.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? Tell us about it.
So my brother and I have kind of always made it. I dated a girl back in 2012, I think it was, 2012 into 2013, and she was a cattle farmer, family from a cattle property up in the Northern Territory. She taught me how to make it. We ended up breaking up, and then I just always made it since. The guys I'm in business with and all the other stuff that we're doing, I started taking it into work, and they made a joke one day, we should make it into a business. That guy on the packaging is one of the guys we're in business with. We kind of mocked him up. Someone said, what about Bareback? I said, I love it. It's terrific. And it kind of went from there. It's been going close to 6 years, but we haven't, necessarily put a whole heap of time and money into it. It's just grown organically.
Yeah.
What we believe we've got is the best product on the market because it tastes like proper beef. It's not me kind of rubbery thing. It's really good. The flavors are great. We've built our own recipes in and around everything. And so what started off as a bit of a joke now is now a fully fledged business, and it's quite cool. And it was a passion project and something that we just love to do, and obviously we love eating it because we're all very active and nutritious, and it's just
Yeah, because it's just dried beef, right, with spices and herbs.
Yeah.
Can you do other meats? Is
Definitely.
that a thing? It is, yeah.
So venison is a big one. You can kind of do whatever you want. People do fish.
That'd be weird.
Yeah, people do like this.
Pass.
Yeah, that's right. There's all different things, and buffalo and basically whatever you want.
Yeah, right. Any meat. Any dried meat.
If you wanted to, you definitely could. But
Yeah.
beef is just the best.
Beef's the classic. Yeah.
Kind of takes 7 days to do. You hang it and cure it, and then basically rather than a jerky where you cut it into little splits and kind of dehydrate it, this is all hung and it's put in a big room, and then you spice it and you cure the meat as well, and then 7 days later you kind of slice it.
Yeah, right.
So
it's hung in big fat strips or whatever.
It keeps its tenderness and its texture, and it actually tastes like beef rather than rubbery rubbish.
Yeah. So obviously, you kind of joked around. You're like, "Fuck it, let's do it." Were there any hurdles getting off the ground? Like, what about designing? Is it all yourself, or
we did it all ourselves? Like, we kind of designed everything ourselves. You got to go through a process of when you get into bigger stores, having the appropriate barcodes and obviously having the nutritional value and everything else on the back, and making sure that it is all
the food standards.
That's right.
Yeah.
Probably the best part about it for us is we contract manufacture it, and then we get it packaged and ready to go, and then we distribute it. We supply someone with our recipes, so we don't.
I was going to say, do you get someone else to make it? Obviously, to begin with, it was doing it at your home.
That's right, correct. But when you get to a
recipe.
scale and everything else, it's a lot easier doing that, and we just market and distribute it, and away it goes. And we obviously have to keep an eye on the recipes and make sure that the process and the product is the quality that we want. But we've been working with a bloke now for a while, and it's terrific.
Where do you guys where's it stocked?
Just a lot of independents.
Yeah, like your IGA type vibes.
IGA type vibes, independent BPs, etc. Local grocers. Our biggest thing at the moment is just online, though.
Yeah,
a real emphasis on that, and direct to consumer is the best avenue for us.
Yeah,
because you keep a lot of the margin and you know exactly where it's going, who it's going to, and then it's easier to remarket to them. Whereas if you go and put it in a store, you know what I mean, then you've got to go and make sure that store's put it in the appropriate place, and you've got to manage them. And it's not selling, or you got it in the back corner. There's a lot more to do with it. Where if you're just someone orders it online, you pack it, you put it away, and you send it off.
Yeah. Do you do that? Like, so obviously manufactures it.
It sits in a warehouse that we have, and we've got a team there.
Like 3PL or whatever it's called.
And we just do it ourselves. We've got a distribution centre where we are, and they come and pick it up every day once the orders go out, and it gets there, 5 to 7 days later.
Yeah, sick. Have you ever thought about, or have you tried to go into like the big brands like Coles and Woolies and stuff, or too hard to get into? Or?
No, it is. Like, it's definitely hard to get into. It's got to go through a distribution process and everything else, and then it's just a cost thing. So basically, every time you go into a Coles or Woolworths, you've got to pay a certain amount per quarter just to have it marketed in there.
Right.
And then they obviously diminish the margin, and that's the difficult part. Whereas if you can get a really good online business, which is what we're trying to do at the moment, is all the margin's there for you.
Yeah.
What you're doing is distributing and getting it out and away.
Yeah, it's literally just manufacturing costs and a little bit of delivery, and that's it. Whereas Coles out there 20%, whatever it is, and then the price is lower for starters.
Correct.
Yeah, interesting. Do you have like a sales rep for that, or you just kind of do it yourself? Or
there's a couple of us that just do it together. We've all got different roles within it, and we kind of just make it happen and make it work.
Yeah, because you got smoked chili, chimichurri. Is that how you say it?
Chimichurri, original, smoke, and salt and vinegar.
Yeah, right. Did you start with one and then expanded, or
we started with smoked chili and original, and they were kind of the ones that we came up with, and then obviously just evolved from there. And people want more SKUs and more products, and there'll be other things that we do further down the track that we're quite excited about. But at the moment, it's just kind of getting that out, and it's going quite well.
Do you are you still at the phase where you come up with the formulas, recipes, or do you have a food scientist that does it now?
No, we just do it ourselves.
You just fuck around and go,
I'm a big foodie.
Let's try
yeah, that's right.
paprika and this. And you go, that's disgusting.
But it was my brother, he came up with chimichurri, right? Chimichurri is quite quite common, but he went to Argentina. He's a referee in the rugby space and had a really wonderful steak and grabbed the recipe. You know what I mean? And we kind of tweaked that a little bit and then we produced it in here, and it's, you know, a great seller.
Yeah.
Same with salt and vinegar. Like, it's like no one does salt and
classic.
vinegar.
Yeah,
but no one does it right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we try to figure out how to do that, because you'd think it'd just be vinegar and salt. But all the beef is cured in vinegar, so you don't really get that vinegary taste.
Yeah, yeah.
So you go through a process of dehydrated vinegar, salts, and then obviously go through that process and add a few other bits and pieces.
Do you love it?
I love it.
Like experimenting and
yeah, it's terrific. Yeah, and I'm a big foodie, and like, you know what I mean, I get excited about cooking at home and everything else. And this was just, I guess, an extension with that. I'm not a creative person. I don't sit around and draw, or I'm not musical, but that's kind of my creative outlet, and that's, you know, the passion that I kind of have with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I said to someone the other day, I was like, oh, I'm not creative. And my friend was like, dude, you are. You're just not artsy creative.
That's right.
And I'm like, yeah, fuck. It's like, think about all the businesses you do and this, like the podcast editing. I'm like, oh man, you're so right. It's food cooking is being creative.
That's right.
And it's like this and you got other businesses. And yeah. It's funny how your mind thinks this, and then someone like opens it up and you go, hang on a minute. It's actually
not right.
Yeah. Were there any like roadblocks getting it off the ground?
No. Like, I literally just used to make it and put it in glad bags and take it to the rugby club and sell it.
Yeah.
And then obviously you figure out what you're supposed to do to make it appropriate for being stocked in places. And it's just as simple as research and delivery.
Yeah.
All that.
That's sick. What's you got a few flavors coming out?
Oh, just different things. Stick with the 5 flavors, but we're looking to do some spices further down the track where people can season.
Oh, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff, which is quite exciting. And
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
A few steaks.
That's right. And the stuff that we use, put on a steak, it's just phenomenal.
So obviously you're a busy man with the Biltong, the agency, you know, the F45s, wife, kids. Do you find you have protocols in place to help you manage everything, or it's just kind of developed itself?
It's kind of developed itself. There's certain areas, obviously, I manage my time and meetings, etc. But I kind of understand exactly, you know, where I'm heading with things and then what I need to do and the processes to be able to get there. I'm a big believer in surrounding yourself with people who, you know, can support you and obviously help you out along the way. And that's probably been the biggest thing. As I said before, you know, I network quite well and get to understand people, and that help that I get is the best part about it.
Yeah, just prioritizing as well.
Yeah, and at the moment it's a bit different. Me, like I got an 8-month-old son, and before I would just work, but now it's like I don't really want to. You want to work, obviously, because you got to make money. That's right. But like, I want to go home at 3:00 and hang out with him.
Yeah, play with your son.
Hop in the bath and you know what I mean, bath him and help him put him to sleep and spend time with my wife. And that's probably the hardest part about being a business owner. And I really struggled through the first eight months, is because, you know, the expectation from a lot of people is, you know, where are you? What are you doing? So my kid's sick.
Yeah.
And your priorities change. And so I think with that, it's actually made me a better business person, because priorities are different, but you're a hell of a lot more organized.
Yeah. And
you understand the things that are important to make money and to obviously put food on the table for your family. Whereas other things, you'd be like, yeah, I can spend my time going sing with you, and this is a business idea I've got. Okay, that's great. It's just a waste of your time.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. Like, I'm very giving with my time to people, but you got to prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And make sure that, you know, you're doing the right thing for your family. And that's what I probably enjoyed. As hard as this year's been, it's just like, I'm better for it, because it allows me to be better in my day job, better as a husband, better as a father.
Did you find you became more efficient
Definitely.
out of necessity? And you go, hang on a minute, I was wasting a lot of time.
Fucking oath. You look back now and you go, well, what was I doing with my time?
Yeah.
Like, as a single bloke, or even just being married, it's like, what was I doing with my time?
Yeah.
Like, I've had all that time.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's because you don't switch off, whether it's wake up in the morning and I go to the gym for an hour, right? Come home, you're on. You know what I mean? Even being on at that time of morning. And then you come home from work and normally you sit down and watch TV and whatever else. Well, no, you're on again.
Bath time.
That's right. Night time, when you got to get up, change nappies or whatever it is, you're on all the time. And so having that ability to be really efficient in your jobs becomes super important. Because if you're at home and you're taking phone calls at bath time, it's like,
might as well not be home.
That's right.
Yeah.
So bang, get it done and move on.
Do you have any methods? Do you find you get stressed much? I mean, there would be times, but
no, less
speaking,
so now. Yeah. Less so now, because I probably care less. And I used to kind of get stressed about little shit, but it's more like, well, it'll work itself out. My big philosophy is I'm not curing cancer, and I'm not, operating on people to save their lives. I'm dealing with people, and yes, it's super important, and it's important to these people, but
it can wait half a day.
Yeah, sometimes it can wait half a day, or I'll get back to it and make sure it gets done. I prioritize it and I make sure I'm very efficient with it all, but it's like no one's dying by me not answering that phone call.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned when you're a bit younger. You're like, oh, do this, and then you go, you can answer that tomorrow. Like some things are pressing, like some fires need immediately to be put out. But most things you go, oh, someone messages you at 5:30, 6 o'clock. You're like, oh, I can do that tomorrow. Like,
exactly.
They're not going to know. It's like, as far as they know, I'm in a meeting.
Exactly.
Like yeah. And then same thing, everything works itself out. Like there's always an exit strategy somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. All right, we're into our final top 3 moments or final 3 questions I ask everybody. Mm-hmm. So the first one, besides your wife and kid, what's the highlight of maybe your career or businesses so far? Something that's really stood out to you that was awesome?
It's a really good question. Obviously, the success I had as a rugby player was excellent. I achieved a lot of things I wanted to do there. But from a business perspective, I just think, just the fact that the businesses are still going, and the fact that in the environment that we're currently in, where businesses are falling over all the time and patience that I've been able to have with it all, has really kind of become lucrative with that, because they're still here, they're still operational, they're still successful, and we're keeping a lot of people in jobs. Quite often what I look at, you understand this as a business owner yourself, profit margins and everything else. Quite often what I look at when, I'm starting to feel pretty shit about, not necessarily making money in the gyms and whatnot, is our wage bill.
Hurts.
But it is.
Plus your bass bill.
Yeah, but the wage bill kind of on a fortnightly basis, it's like, well, we're spending that on people to keep them in jobs, to supply for their families. To me, that's quite cool. And it's less about, all right, well, here's $100,000 a year in dividends from the gyms or whatever it is, which is obviously crazy. But it's like that, to be able to supply to their family, is probably my biggest thing. It's like, well, that's pretty cool, the fact that, we get to do that for them.
Yeah, sometimes every now and then I go, oh, man, that's what I support people. Like, not in an ego way, but like, that's cool way. Yeah. And then same as with the gym as well, you go, oh, I built this. Like, this is a community. Like, you feel a little bit proud, and
that's the same
something
thing.
unique that not everyone gets to experience.
No, and that's it. Like, people rock up every day to see you or to be a part of your gym, and you've created an environment where the amount of texts that we get from, because you get a range of people, right? You get gays, trans, straight people, black people, white people, Asians, people from all different demographics, everything else, like this big kind of broth of people that kind of come through. And everyone messages, thank you so much for allowing me to be in a studio that just is so welcoming. And everyone kind of loves each other, and everyone kind of allows each other to train. That's the cool part about it.
Yeah, totally.
That's what I love. Like I said to you before, it's about people. They're just making people feel good about themselves. And they walk in, they're like, I'm so tired, I had a shit of a week. They leave 45 minutes later. It's like, thank you.
Yeah,
got the endorphins.
Bit of a joke around.
Yeah, you've given me a little bit of a happy here. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, totally. Second one is, what's a piece of advice someone's given you that's really stuck with you in any aspect of life?
I just think go for it. I was at a crossroad where I did my ACL and I was umming and ahhing. Oh, I'll just go and get a job. I really wanted to do the sports management. And someone said to me, do you have a wife? No. Do you have a girlfriend? No. Do you have any kids? No. What the fuck are you waiting for? You don't have anyone to support. You can go and create a business. If it fails in 12 months, then it fails in 12 months, you can go and do something else.
Yeah.
No dependence. So don't sit around and wait. If you want to go and own your own business, or you want to go and go for a job, if you're not that way inclined, you want to go and go for a job, well, go and apply for the job. You know what I mean? Just do it.
Yeah, the worst is you fail, but like you said, there's no wife and kids, there's no dependence. Right. Just go dig ditches and build back up again.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the last one is, what's next for you? What's in the pipeline? Anything exciting?
No, I just think it's what we're doing. Like, it's a good balance. And at the moment, I'm really excited by this. Like, we've had our 4 best months, in 6 years of business over the last 4 months. And that's been a real revelation for us. We've kind of switched things up a little bit, and we've focused a lot more of our time and energy into getting direct to consumer. And I mean, it's been really fruitful, and we're really excited by that.
Yes, sick. That is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm keen to try it.
Yeah. Well, it's all yours.
The smoked chili, I was like, oh yeah.
I wasn't sure they were a chili man, so
I never used to be. I used to be a little white boy that hated spices and chili, and then now I've been integrating a lot. I'm like, nah, chili slaps.
Yeah, it does. Not
like
too hot.
white boy version chili. Yeah.
It's not too hot.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man, for coming on. I know you're super busy, and I super appreciate it. I've really enjoyed listening to all of your stories and entrepreneurships and stuff. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Good luck with everything, and hopefully we chat soon.
Easy. Thank you, mate.